We're going to go over one of my favorite topics today, how our retirement plan, our deferred compensation plan work together. So, agenda, different plans. We're going to talk about one plan that you have that you must participate in, and that is the defined benefit plan. That is a monthly lifetime benefit guaranteed to you once you're vested and once you meet your rule or turn age 65. The other thing we're going to talk about is our optional supplemental retirement plans, also known as deferred compensation. And then finally, we're going to talk about how the two plans work together. So I'm probably going to bring this up a few times today and sound like a broken record, although vinyl is back. But we're going to talk about two different plans and how they work together. So they are two distinctly different retirement plans for you. Okay, so to understand finally how these two plans work together, we first have to understand the defined benefit plan that you're enrolled in. Now, we do have 9 different retirement plans, folks. What we're going to focus on today, though, is our defined benefit main plan, because we've got about 90% of our people in that. There are 3 tiers to this plan. So this is really important. If you were first enrolled in the defined benefit plan prior to January 2016, you're tier 1. If you were enrolled January 2016 to December 2019, you're tier 2. And tier 3 is anybody that was enrolled in the plan January 1st, 2020. The tiers are slightly different, so these dates are really important. So let's take a look at the 3 tiers and how they're different and how they're the same. Tiers 1, 2, and 3, where you're enrolled is dependent on when you first began participating in the plan. We can see under the vesting column that they are all the same. All plans require 36 months of vesting, which means you're legally entitled to receive a lifetime benefit. However, if I turn 65 without having 36 months of service while participating in the plan, I am vested. Notice in the contributions, they're all 15.26%. You'll notice in the third tier, though, there's no health credit. So that 1.14% of the health credit is going into the employer general pool of funds. Early retirement. In all 3 plans, early retirement is age 55. If you're 55 and you've not met your rule, then we're going to take a reduction. So the first one, age 55, I've not met my rule of 85. I'm going to take a 6% reduction for every year I go early. Tier 2, I'm age 55. I've not met my rule of 90, nor am I age 60. I'll take 8% reduction for each year. And the same for tier 3. I can go as early as age 55, but I've not met my rule, nor am I age 60. Then I'm going to take an 8% reduction for every year I go early. Let's look at what normal retirement means. And normal simply means it's an unreduced benefit. Tier 1. As long as I meet my rule of 85, which is my years of service plus my age, it doesn't matter how old I am. If I started as a youngin', I could be age 52 and meet my rule of 85. I am at normal unreduced benefit. But tiers 2 and 3 are a little different. In order for me to have an unreduced benefit, I need to meet both my rule of 90 and be age 60. Now, if I'm age 65, I'm automatically at normal retirement. So tiers 2 and 3, I can take an early retirement as early as age 55, but there'll be an 8% reduction for each year. If I want to be at normal unreduced benefit in tiers 2 and 3, I need to be both age 60 and meet my rule, or I need to be age 65. And finally, our multiplier, 2% for tier 1, 2% for tier 2, and 1.75% for tier 3. Okay, so this is really a demonstration of how the funds that we receive for your retirement are allocated. Every time you get paid, 15.26% of your gross wages are calculated. Typically, well, always state employees put in 3%. We have some political subdivisions that the employee might put in a little bit more. Either way, between you and your employer, it all adds up to 15.26%. So if you're a state employer, you're putting in 3% of the 15.26. When we receive these funds, we put 7% into your bucket, your employee account. We put 712 into the employer account. That's all employer, general pool of funds. It's huge, it's gigantic, it's enormous. And then we put 1.14 into the health credit. Now, if you went out to member self-service and looked around and ran a benefit estimate and all that jazz, what you would see is your member account balance. You would see the amount in your bucket. This bucket here, you're not going to see on member self-service because, again, it's accumulation of all employers' contributions. Now, this is the distribution if you're in Tier 1 or 2. If you're in Tier 3, you're going to notice the contribution is still 15.26. And you're going to notice that 7% is still going into your bucket, but we're missing the health credit bucket because Tier 3 does not have a health credit. So that 1.14 that was going into the health credit bucket is now being put into the employer general pool of funds. Service credit and investing. So I already talked about this, but just to talk about it again, every time you go to work, you get a month of service credit. So you go to work, we receive contributions, you get a month of service credit. That helps to vest you. 36 months means you're legally entitled to receive a monthly lifetime benefit when eligible. Notice here, you become vested the earlier of 36 months or 65. So in my previous statement where I said some folks are never going to see their rule, they're going to turn 65 first. There are in some situations where maybe somebody started working when they were 63, they put 2 years of service in, and they're 65, they're automatically vested and eligible to receive that retirement benefit. And one thing that folks really need to know about this plan is that this is an annuity. It is a guaranteed monthly lifetime payment. It never runs out. This plan, and this is the defined benefit main plan that everybody is bound by law to participate in, and who wouldn't want to, right? Is a defined benefit, and that means it's defined by a formula. And here's the formula: years of service times your final average salary, which is your highest 36 salaries averaged, times your plan's benefit multiplier. Now that's going to yield the single life benefit. When we pay you out of your bucket first. When that bucket's gone, we move over to that general pool of fund or the employer bucket, and we pay you out of that for the rest of your life. So that is plan one. That's your guaranteed lifetime annuity that you're participating in by law. The next thing we're going to talk about is the other plan that you can choose to participate in. This is totally voluntary. This is called deferred compensation. So deferred comp is really investing your pre-tax dollars with a deferred comp provider. Could be TIAA, could be Nationwide, it could be Empower, could be Bank in North Dakota. And so basically you say, I want X amount of dollars taken out of my paycheck before you tax it. And I want you, employer, to send it to my deferred comp provider that I've already set up an account with. And I'm going to work with my provider and I'm going to invest it. You can start, stop, increase, decrease anytime you want. This is not tied to an open enrollment like other insurances because this is a deferred compensation plan. So you can start it, stop it, increase it, decrease it anytime you want. So how do deferred comp plans work? What's happening is you're sending your money there and it's growing tax deferred, basically between you and your provider. We can see how much you're sending there, but we have no idea what its growth is. And so that's between you and your provider. What's neat about these governmental plans, whether it's a 457 or a 403B, is that you can withdraw your funds when you leave employment after you've been off payroll for 31 days, even if you're not 59 and a half, and there's no penalty. You do owe the income tax on your withdrawals once you start taking a withdrawal. Now, IRS sets annual limits for 457 and 403B plans. This year, of course, the minimum amount that you can defer is $25. The maximum is $20,500 for 100% of your taxable comp. If you're 50 years or older, you can do something called, you can do a catch-up, and you can do $27,000 a year. If you are within 3 years of retirement, but not the year in which you are going to retire, you can put up to $41,000 a year into your deferred comp. What's really neat about having a deferred comp plan too is when you leave employment and you're getting paid out your vacation and your sick leave, you can toss that money into your deferred comp. And a lot of times people want to do that because those payouts for vacation and sick leave are taxed at a much higher rate. So, you can avoid that higher withholding and put it into your deferred comp. So, Plan 1, defined benefit plan, the way, that you're putting a certain percent in, your employer's putting a certain percent in. It's defined by a formula, years of service, final average salary, benefit multiplier, guaranteed monthly lifetime benefit. And then number 2, the deferred compensation that you choose to voluntarily participate in or not. And so 2 different retirement plans. But when you do both of them, this is how they work together. Portability Enhancement Provision, or PEP. So PEP, really it's a redistribution of funds, and it grows your bucket larger. It gives you more portability, but I'm going to give you a visual here. So I'm going back to our original Plan 1, the defined benefit plan. Remember we said you put in a certain percent, 3% of your state. It could be up to 7% of your own money if you're in a political subdivision. And then your employer puts in the rest. So cumulatively, we're getting 15.26% PERSes. And then we're putting 7% in your bucket, 7.12 into the employer. If you're in tiers 1 and 2, 1.14 into the health credit. So this is the defined benefit plan. On your left, this is what happens should you choose to invest your own money into a deferred comp plan. So if you are in your first year of employment and you're putting at least 1% of your gross pay into your own deferred comp plan, your own money, then what happens in the first retirement plan with PERS is we do a redistribution. So you'll see that we're going to throw one of these percents from the employer account into your employee account. Okay, still all adds up to 15.26, so it's a redistribution. Little smoke and mirrors. If I'm in my second year and I'm putting at least 2% into my own deferred comp, when NDPERS gets the contribution for the defined benefit plan from your employer and you, then we're going to put 9% in your bucket, but we're going to decrease the employer bucket. Still all adds up to 15.26, just moving it over one. If I'm in my third year of employment and I'm putting at least 3% of my gross wages into deferred comp, then we're going to put 10% in your bucket. Year 4, 4%, 11%. Now I can put as much in as the IRS will allow me, and and as much as I can, and still feed my children. but the maximum amount that we're going to redistribute is 11% to your account. Now, one thing that I think is really important that people understand is that by doing deferred comp and taking advantage of PEP, you are not increasing your first retirement plan, the defined benefit plan, because remember, it's based on a formula. And once we establish that payment based on the formula, we're going to pay you out of your account balance. So it's not going to increase your NDPERS benefit. It's going to take you, it's just going to take us longer to get through your bucket before we move over here and pay you out of the general pool of funds. So you may be thinking, what's the big deal? Then why should I do it? Well, I like to think there's a lot of good reasons. First one is, you're setting up another retirement distribution stream. You're doing it pre-tax, which means that you're lowering your taxable income for your paycheck. And then, I always have to go down lane morbid, but what if you passed away and you were not vested or you were not married? Then your heirs have a larger benefit payable to them. Now, another reason that I like to do the deferred compensation is because you can use those funds to purchase service. Now, we're not going to get into service purchase this go round. We actually have a really good one out on YouTube that I would encourage you to watch. But what's really neat about it is, let's say that I'm throwing, $100 a month into deferred comp, and I build up my deferred comp, and then I say I want to buy some service with PERS. I can roll money from that deferred comp plan to PERS. Now, so now I'm getting all sorts of uses out of my deferred comp money. I'm lowering my taxable income, I'm investing it, I'm getting this benefit of building up my bucket here, and then I can say, well, now I want to use that money to buy service in the defined benefit plan. Now, you are kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul to do that. You just got to decide which guy pays better in the end, Peter or Paul. But anyway, lots of different uses for your deferred comp. This next one is really the same example, except notice we're missing the third bucket. So if I'm in tier 3 and I'm putting at least 1% of my gross pay into my own deferred comp, I'm going to have 8% in this bucket. If I'm in year 2, putting 2% in, 9% in this bucket. If I'm in year 3, putting at least 3%, 10% in this bucket. If I'm in year 4, putting 4%, 11% in this bucket. So how do you activate PEP? Well, PEP is automatic. If you decide that doing deferred compensation is a good idea for you and you enroll, what happens is it's coming out of your paycheck, it's going to your deferred comp provider. But that information is also reported to us here at PERS, so we know that you're contributing and we know how much. So then we just automatically move those funds over into your bucket. PEP happens. State employees, on our website, you can see the available deferred compensation providers. If you want to do this, you're going to want to make sure that you enroll through member self-service or via Form 3803. But you're also going to want to contact that provider that you plan to set up an account with so that they know that you're opening one and they can help you invest your funds. If you're with a political subdivision and you don't have our 457 plans, your own 457 plans or 403B plans that are directly with your employer will qualify. And so you're going to work directly with your employer and that provider to set those up. So again, PEP does not increase your defined benefit plan with NDPERS, but it does set up another additional distribution stream in retirement for you. It lowers your taxable income. It increases your member account balance. And finally, you can reuse that money if you wish and purchase some service with it. If you have questions, we are available. You can get in touch with us by calling us, Facebook. Again, really check out our YouTube site. We have a lot of good information out there.